important. I found myself thinking about vulnerability yesterday, and I said, you know what? I gotta make this a video. Why it is so important and things you can do to practice being vulnerable. So let's get into it. Thanks so much for coming back to another episode of Coffee with K. I so hope that you are having a great week so far. First off, we just gonna talk about this, y'all. You have me in rare form. I usually do not have on this much makeup, and I don't remember the last time I had on this much hair. However, that's all right, though. We are going to get it. We're going to talk about vulnerability. I wanted to get into this topic, vulnerability, because it is so important. I find the older I get, the more vulnerable that I am willing to be, but also the harder it is to be vulnerable. So I literally have up the definition. Thanks so much, Apple. They are not sponsoring this video, though they could. I wanted to read the definition of vulnerability so that we could just get an all-encompassing overview of vulnerability. It says, vulnerability is the quality or state of being exposed to the possibility of being attacked or harmed, either physically or emotionally. And that's the reason why vulnerability is so hard, because when you are vulnerable, you are exposed. And if you think about it, it's not even just human nature, it is animal instinct to make sure that you protect yourself from any kind of outside threats. And so the fact that there could possibly be a way that somebody else could hurt you emotionally, take advantage of a situation, of your story, or even just use your vulnerability and your openness, your wounds against you, it makes you want to run and hide. But here's why vulnerability is so important. The first one, a lot of people are going through the same things, except no one is talking about it. I have met countless number of people in their 20s and in their early 30s who are experiencing what I like to call not even a midlife crisis, a quarter crisis, where they are trying to reroute and figure out what they want, while they are trying to reroute and figure out what their purpose is, while they are rerouting and trying to figure out what the next move is. And because nobody is having serious conversations about it, because it is so popular to seemingly have all of your things together, and failing and trying over and over is not popular, nobody is talking about it, because by them being vulnerable about where they are in their lives, it leaves them open for other people's opinions to hurt them. And I heard a quote a long time ago, and I forgot who said it. When you in your 20s and your 30s, you think everybody is looking at you, but when you get into your 40s and 50s, you realize that nobody is looking at you because everybody is worried about how they look. A lot of times people's opinions of you are dictated upon how well they know you. If they don't know you that well, it's quick to pass off an easy, quick opinion. And if you think about it, even if that opinion isn't favorable to us, because we do not know what they're going through or what hermeneutic they are viewed in your situation, or maybe even they've been in your situation before and things didn't go so well, we should be gracious unto them as well and take what they have to say and their opinions with a grain of salt. And you never know, which is why this leads me to my second point. Vulnerability gives other people permission to be vulnerable too. People need a safe place that they can be vulnerable in. If there is no emotional safety or people don't feel that way, they're not going to be vulnerable. And you opening up that door to vulnerability by sharing a little bit about your testimony, your background, or even what you've been going through automatically allows them to walk through that door of vulnerability. But somebody has to initiate it first. And if you have two people that are unwilling to be vulnerable because of fear of getting hurt, there is never going to be that deep level of vulnerability. One thing I have learned and I'm continuing to learn is that people are always going to be people, but people cannot stop me from being the person I know that I want to be. And when I say people are going to be people, they are always going to be people that unfortunately take advantage of your vulnerability. And that never feels good. And some relationships don't get mended after that. However, just like there are bad apples in every bunch of good apples, there is always going to be someone that tries to taint the way you view being vulnerable, or that is going to try to tell you that's not right or you shouldn't be doing that. But don't let that stop you from doing that and creating a space for others to do the same. So what if people take advantage of your vulnerability? You are living in your truth, and that has nothing to do with you. That has everything to do with where they are in their emotional maturity. And who knows, there may be somebody in your path that needs the emotional vulnerability that you have, but because you closed it off because of one bad experience, you won't be able to have the impact that you need to change their life. Now, I'm not telling you to go spill your business out to everybody, because there does need to be such things as boundaries, not just in your professional life, but also in your personal life. And there are definitely levels in your vulnerability. And so what I am telling you is that instead of just being a closed bottle of soda that's shaken up and people can clearly see that the gas inside it is expanding, nothing is happening on the outside, just try being vulnerable with people. That will not only alleviate some of the pressure that's building up inside of you, but allow others to enjoy you as well. Which leads me to my third point. Being vulnerable allows people to see how they can be there and be of service to you. I am definitely guilty of this, of feeling like the friend that is there for everybody else but not getting that in return. And then I ask myself, are you really allowing people to see where you're hurting and see the needs that you have? And most of the time, the answer was no. You can't blame the people around you for not being there for you if they never see a side of you that needs them to be there. And everybody, not just in your life, but around you as well, want to feel wanted and needed to some degree by somebody. And I know it's so easy for us to be like, oh, well, they're going through things. I don't want to stack anything on top of them. Or maybe they don't have the emotional capacity to deal with my issues today. But if you think about it, you didn't even give them the chance or the option to be there for you. Maybe you sharing some of your vulnerable moments might make them feel better and might make them feel less isolated, because your words can fall on deaf ears if there is nothing or no padding there to back it up. Maybe it gives them a much needed break from their current situations, and so because they're always talking about themselves, they look for and are craving for a different experience and to see that their friend is human just like they are. So many times the answers to our prayers and needs that we need fulfilled are literally either right next to you in your home or a call away, but because there isn't a level of vulnerability that will say, hey, I'm in a place of need, because everybody wants to seem like they have it all together, most of the time those needs don't get met. We have to allow people to be there for us. And you know what? We're gonna take some time right now. Say it with me. Repeat after me. I will let people be there for me. One more time. I will let people be there for me. Whew. And I know some of that was hard for you all, so we're gonna take a little breath. But that is what you need to give yourself permission to do. Permission to let people be there for you. And honestly, so many of us are feeling so heavy. That's probably why you are literally trying to carry the weight of several people on you and you're not reaching for help. You are screaming on the inside and you're going to implode. So give yourself permission to do that. Number 4, the last one that I have for you all is being vulnerable allows people to build trust with you. Imagine that there was a chef cooking in a restaurant, right? And somebody comes from the dining room to the kitchen where the chef is. And they're like, oh, hey, don't use that technique. Use this technique. The first thing the chef is going to do is say, why should I listen to you? What credentials do you have to show me that your technique is better than the one I already have? This is the same concept that can be applied and seen in all aspects of life. If people know that you're willing to be vulnerable, or if somebody is coming to you with a problem, an issue, or anything like that, any form of conflict, whether it be good or bad, and you try to go to give them advice, unless you are a licensed therapist, a medical doctor, or a legal professional, you have very little merit. Chances are people are going to want to know where you got this information or this advice that you're giving them from. People want to be able to connect, and they want to be able to know that they are not alone in what they are going through or in their life. You know that old saying, misery loves company, honey? That is so true, because when I am down and out, I want to know that somebody has been there, done that, got a t-shirt, made it out, and I can see them right now, or somebody who's in it with me and just lets me know that I am not alone. And a lot of times, because of our lack of vulnerability, the people closest to us don't know that we once struggle with that, or that we are struggling with that, because it is so much more convenient to hide our shortcomings and our falls rather than open up to them, own them, and move on. So if you are trying to establish trust with anybody, there are going to be certain times where you must be vulnerable, and that just is what it is, because people are people, and we want to know that we are not the only person out here by ourselves. Not just that, but I always say this, y'all, don't let your suffering go to waste. If there is something that you are going through or are currently working through, it is literally in the Bible that says the righteous will never be forsaken. So if you are in a situation that is not good, that is not the end of your story. And accepting that no matter where you are in your journey, if you are in a down and out place, if you are in a deep place, if you are in a sad place, that is not the end, and that there is something greater coming for you, that will allow you to be more vulnerable. Because when I realized that, and when I started accepting that we are going to have troubles in this life we will have troubles, but that is all right, because it is just meant to strengthen us, and when we walk out, we will have a greater testimony. That allowed me not to be ashamed of any situation that I am going through, and be willing to share my testimony and my story, because I know that whoever I tell, they are not only going to be able to witness where I am right now, but also where I am going, and my story has yet to be finished. So I hope this helps you be vulnerable. I do know that it is a journey. It is not a sprint. It is definitely a marathon. However, hopefully these tips can help you do that and kind of, change the way you look at vulnerability. That way you can start letting people be there for you, and you can be there for people in a deeper capacity. I love you. I love you. I love you so much. Thanks so much for watching. We'll talk to you soon.